Welcome, Tiny Hands Big Dreams, here at the edge of the Amazon. Today, coming from southern Ecuador, is story time. Oh, officially that is not a green screen, that is our actual background. Um, so we live in this beautiful place. It is utterly gorgeous, it's wonderful. How did we get here? We did not have money, we did not have means, we did not have a lot of things. We're going to explain how we got here coming from nothing. Like, literally just, we had nothing.
Our first trip here was only possible because we emptied out the coin jars that we had kept for years and years and years to buy one of the plane tickets.
Pickle jar.
Mm-hmm.
Pickle
Two
jar.
of them.
And that's how we got back from our exploratory trip here. All right, 5 years ago. Let's go back 5 years within a week. 5 years ago in a week, we're driving away from Colorado to Tennessee. Wow, interesting. So Colorado was fun. Not the place for us. Had a lot of issues. Crime, homelessness, drugs, violence, things, weird stuff.
Crazy high prices of everything. Our goal was always, our plan when we moved to Colorado was flip a house there, which would fund our move to Ecuador.
Yep.
Seemed like a good idea on paper. Chris had a job lined up there. It seemed great. In reality, there was no way we could afford anything.
So, yeah, the job was great. A really good friend of mine, giant 3D printers. He said, hey, there's a spot here for you. I'm like, hands down, done, let's go. So that got us out of Washington to Colorado. It was never going to go anywhere. They were never going to pay a real living wage. We had to borrow money to drive away.
Mm-hmm.
And we lived in our home, which was our old 1957 GMC bus house. Loved bus house. We had to borrow money to literally just drive away from that.
Yep. So at some point when we were in Colorado, and we had been looking at houses to buy, and they were worse than terrible, and just it was so bad. Prices were going up, quality was going down, crime, all those things, and we just decided, okay, this is not going to work.
There's just nothing.
So Chris told me to find somewhere else.
Yeah, so I said Colorado was kind of me. It was kind of my decision of like where to go. You had never been west of the West Coast?
Yeah, I mean Oregon, Idaho. Yeah, that's about it.
So I said that was on me. This one, anywhere you want to go. Our final destination is Ecuador. We had decided that. That was our goal. Every decision, we made every single day around the dinner table was, does it get us closer to Ecuador? But we needed an interim stop. So I said anywhere in the world, and she just went, okay.
No, you said anywhere in the U.S.
Well,
we weren't going that far.
But I said anywhere. And she just said, okay. And then, I heard nothing about it for months. And she just started amassing data and spreadsheets and websites, tabs. So many tabs, the browser cried.
I'm known for that.
Yep.
Yeah, so all of that research led us to the very corner of northeast Tennessee, which we had never set foot in the state, knew nothing about it really beyond the research I had done. And we said, okay, let's go.
Yeah, I was like, that's part of the South, which is its own unique creature in the United States. They talk different, they act different, they think. It's from her view, it's great. I'm like, all right. We got help. We didn't actually buy the house. Her mom bought the house. We made the payments.
Yeah, and we found it on, I don't know, Zillow, one of those, and it was a total sight unseen. We had no means to get there to visit, to see if we even liked it, to look at the house.
We couldn't afford a plane ticket.
Nothing.
And then my mom, we ended up borrowing money from her. She gave us money for that, a little bit, for help for the down payment.
Yep.
And we're just like, it's an acre-ish.
Yep.
It's a little hill. It's kind of like Ecuador. It's on a hill. Okay. It's a training house. It's great. How bad could it be?
So we had an agent there in Tennessee who, we explained, and we were sort of in a weird position that we were not the ones legally buying it. So there were some oddities there. So we had him walk through it and send us videos and pictures and things. And I mean, he wasn't dishonest, but he definitely perhaps painted it in a nicer light than it was. And there is no smell-o-vision on those videos.
Yeah, it turns out the house was a problem child in the industry and in their office. It was also the seller's agent. They really wanted it gone.
So it,
Picture number like 48 of the ones he sent. I'm looking at it and I'm like, on the outside house, I'm like, where's that door go? There's a door that goes like outside. Like, does it go under the house?
we're trying to figure it out.
Is that like just like crawl space? Sometimes there's like a crawl space, and there's like people just like kind of wall it, put a door. And I'm like, but there's no other pictures of a downstairs basement. The listing, no basement.
No.
Officially on the MLS.
And eventually he sent us a picture of the basement. We're like, there's a basement? Oh, that seems nice. I mean, it seems like a bonus.
That's
it seems
great.
positive.
I
That's
love
great.
basements. You can do so much.
It was a pretty
basement.
small house to start with. Okay, the basement gives us a little more space, gives us a place to work. That's great. Okay, we'll buy it. So we set off before we had actually officially bought it, or before my mom had bought it. Thanks, Mom. We left Colorado before any of that was finalized because that's just the way the timing worked out. So we were driving and continuing to talk to the agent and like, oh, is it going to be closed by the time we get there? Because we have nowhere else to go. We were supposed to be at the house, supposed to show up and park at the house. That's not how it worked out. We ended up in a campground for a few nights while everything sort of worked itself out, which was not ideal, but it was an adventure. It was fine. We were lucky enough to be in a position with the bus where we could do that.
Yeah, we literally,
great.
Carried our home like a turtle.
It was great. And then we got the keys, which was its own. Well, Chris went back to Colorado to get his car.
So yeah, immediately
turn
had to
and
burn, get there and then turn around.
Yep.
Fly back, pick up my car,
and again left
the
me
trailer.
in a new state, which she's done before.
Sorry.
It's just the way it worked out, and I'm like, I don't know anybody. I don't know anything. I have no idea what I'm doing. Trying to find all the utility companies, all of the phone numbers to call, and the people and the things, and dealing with the agent. Oh my gosh! And so, yeah, and one of the problems was the wire that went across the driveway, the power lines, which wasn't a power line, but there's like 1,000 lines up there, and we don't know what.
It's a pole with like all the data cables and things, telephone lines. Nobody owned it,
and we couldn't get the bus under it
because it had this huge sag.
And I was calling everybody, trying to figure out who owns it. Well, I don't know. Nobody knows.
We'll do a thing, and in 6 months we'll issue a statement. We're like, no, we need it moved.
We have to get in.
Yeah.
So we
just moved it.
We just moved it.
We just we made the old prop rod.
Yep.
And hoisted it.
Yep. As soon as he got back and we got the keys, then we went there and that's when we moved the shed. So, which was sort of, I think it really set the stage for the entire rest of that experience.
To get up the driveway, which was pretty steep, remember, house on a hill, Rancho Unflato, #1. To get up the driveway, I couldn't get a running start. We had to turn in. And then that was after we get under the wire. So now we're going to come up this steep driveway, and there's a cliff on this side, and so if we like get over that way, we fall off the gianty cliff through woods and into some hairdresser's parking lot. And then we had to get up and turn, and there's no way to turn because there's this shed in the way. This old like Sears metal shed thing. So
but we also didn't want to just tear it down because we had no money.
Useful.
We had nothing. It's useful.
Trash to us is like more than we had in some cases. We had us.
We had us.
So we had ratchet straps from the trailers. Put ratchet straps around it. Hooked it to ourselves like mules.
Just drug it.
And just with supreme will of effort, drug the 30, 40-year-old shed across the driveway and the yard and all the roots and rocks hanging from its bottom. We just looked at each other afterward, just beet red. We thought we were going to die.
This is after driving for a week.
We're not going to fail.
Nope,
we're going to make it.
So we did that. We got everything ready. And then in the night, we decided to move the bus because we were technically not sure we were supposed to be lifting the cable. And this is on a highway, a major highway. So we're like, well, we're just going to do it when it's dark. And then maybe we won't have any problems. No one will say anything.
That's one of those.
It'll be okay.
If you damage the cable, it could be like a $28,000 bill the utility just assesses or something. We're like, we don't know. So we're just gonna do it, and then yeah, um, that worked out.
Yeah.
It worked out.
Yeah, it worked out fine.
So we get there,
Um,
and now we're like, hey, here's the house. Let's look at the house. It looks like the pictures, but in higher resolution.
yeah. Well, we had also found out that the porch roof, which was not a problem on the inspection, somehow was now horribly leaking, mold everywhere.
Oh yeah, just
Absolute
raining,
disaster.
and we're back and forth with the agent, like, at least open the door to the porch to let it dry out. It's just turning black with mold. And he's like, nope, can't do it, can't open the door, can't this and that. I'm like, well, this is not the condition we bought it in. And they're just like, yeah, I don't care.
So as soon as we got the keys, I think this is when I remember I went to Walmart and bought the window fan and stuck the window fan in, like that'll at least help. And then that was really the first major thing we did when we got there, because we had to stop the damage happening before we can even try to remodel and make it nicer.
We thought,
to stop the damage.
as long as the house has good bones, structure, foundation, roof, everything else we can work on.
And of course, it did not have all of those things.
No.
Not at all.
Skill building time.
So
yeah.
So
yeah, put a new roof on it on the porch. So that worked out good.
that was a lot of work, honestly.
It was a lot of work. It was all new decking, new members things, sheet metal. Lovely people there helped us out with all the materials, things, how it fit together. I'd never done roofing.
No.
But it came out real nice.
Yeah, it worked well, kept everything dry, no more issues. So that was kind of a trial by fire there.
So
like, it's a big thing that we don't know how to do.
Kept everything dry.
Yeah.
So there was the other part of the house that was a porch, kind of turned into a room, a bonus room, which was the other end of it.
That we just closed off for
we literally
at least a year. We just
plasticed off the door frame and taped it, and just gave up on that room.
And we'll get to that later. Literally, that's what we do. We're just.
And then the rains came, and everything around the house was a soggy mud mess. And then the basement, there's a river flowing across the basement.
And
to a lake that is also now the basement.
Well, yeah, that's when we realized how bad the basement was. The first day we showed up and walked through the house, and we're like, wow, this is not good.
Wasn't the worst problem with the basement.
No, the basement was horrifying, which in dimly lit pictures, you're like, it's a basement.
Yeah, it needs paint.
Fine.
No.
It was horrible.
No.
It was honestly the worst part of the entire house.
So it turns out it was a biohazard site. Likely the house should have been condemned.
Yep.
Somebody had kept dogs down there for decades. They peed and they pooped down there. The ammonia just got it, like, the stairs were crystallized with old dog urine, solidly through the wood. They were not even cleanable. Everything in the basement was just soaked and ruined. The floor, eventually somebody had painted over, and they painted over dog poop, like fresh dog poop. When we were chipping up the paint, it was still there. I don't know how long it's been encased, but it was like still a lump of dog poop. And then another layer of paint, a different color.
Oh, the smells.
More dog poop.
The smells.
Who does this?
The smells.
Oh my gosh. So pressure washing, bunny suit, full Tyvek suit, respirators, biohazard protocol.
Well, first, you're getting ahead of everything here.
I do this.
He skips around. I call him Mr. Tangent for a reason.
We're just going to back up.
Well, first, we had to tear everything out of the basement. Yeah. So that was you and I, like the bunny suits and things, tear everything out, cut down the stairs we gave up on, take it back to nothing.
We tried enzymes and bleaches and things.
Nothing worked.
Soaked through. And the stairs were wonky. They weren't even all the same
so
height. Bad. Like 9 inches, 10 inches, 9 1/4 inches, 8. You're like, who built
So
this?
we just tore them out. Many, many trips to the dump with the trailer that you made from the roof.
Right.
Material. It's great.
Fantastic. Of the moldy roof from the porch, I took the best bits, and I cut it into strips, and I took my old motorcycle trailer and I turned it into a utility trailer. And now I had this lovely little utility trailer that I could tow with my little car.
It's great. So we took trips and trips to the dump with everything from the basement. But I think, I don't know our timeline exactly, but we also really started doing the outside as fast as possible. We moved there in March, so it was if we want a garden, if we want anything, we got to do it now.
We started on the outside before really we did much on the inside.
Yeah, we did the emergency things like the roof, and then we just focused on the outside. We got pigs.
Well, yeah, and then
far
we set up
before
like,
we should have.
we put up a seed heating mat on the living room floor because we're not living in the house. It's not livable. It's not safe.
No.
So we put a seed mat on the floor and then made ourselves a little dome out of some plastic. So we were doing greenhousey stuff like in the living room to start our garden.
And we started building all the beds out of the old Trex material, the Trex decking.
Trash everywhere. So much trash. Every shovelful from the yard was some piece of trash would come up. And then, there's this huge old pile of old Trex. That's the old. I guess somebody there did decking. Okay. I'm looking at it, I'm like, well, if I cut the end off, this end out, I can reuse a lot of this. This will make lovely raised beds. And it all matches at least. Okay.
It's intentional.
Okay. So then, boom, I lay out all these beautiful, like, little shallow raised beds that won't rot because they're Trex decking, they're plastic.
And then we brought in all the mulch or the compost. Mix that all into the soil. It was a lot of work.
We were lucky. We could local place right down the street had a nice mushroom compost.
Mm-hmm. We got horse compost at one point delivered.
Oh, a big trailer load of horse compost that had been sitting for 10 years at some horse farm.
So it was a lot of just piecing things together to get a garden going. We got the pigs to dig up the yard for the garden. And because I wanted pigs.
She just really wanted pigs. But look at them, like they're so cute.
Well, this was also the first time that we had property. In all the places we had lived, it's like we tried to garden, we had chickens, but we couldn't really establish ourselves in any real way. So as soon as we had land, I'm like, I want pigs.
At least one, but really we should have two. There should be two because they have to have friends. And I'm like, okay. We got there, and I'm like, I think we should take all three.
Okay. Oh. They were so cute. They were great pigs, though. They were fantastic.
They were a
American guinea hog and potbelly cross.
Right.
It was an accidental pig. Worked out well for us. They were great. We loved them. Learned a lot about pigs doing that.
Actually, yeah, they were good pigs. So many fun memories of keeping pigs. I recommend it.
And then we added chickens and ducks. And rabbits.
The ducks. I remember we went to the animal auction.
Which is a fun and interesting place.
We're like 40 feet away, and they just like open a crate, hold a thing up, and you're like,
that's ducks! I want those!
I think it's a duck.
I have no idea. I don't know anything about them.
And then that's it. It's back in the crate. People are banging. We're like...
So we ended up with 4 ducks, with one drake and 3 hens, which was exactly what we wanted, without having any clue.
Like it was kinds that we wanted.
It was awesome. They were great ducks.
They were amazingly good ducks.
They were.
Thank you, random stranger in Tennessee who sold your ducks.
Oh, we miss them. They were great. So we added all the animals, worked on all the gardens, got things growing. It was actually pretty successful. Yeah, the chicken coop, the duck house, the rabbit hutches.
We spent a lot of time on the animal structures. Like the chicken coop was probably one of the nicest I've ever built. And I've built a lot of chicken coops. And I'll do a whole video on animal houses and structures, or several videos, and how to put those together so that they're functional. Chicken coop was just deluxe. The duck house, look on the internet for like duck house pictures. It's bleak. It's bad. Built a really functional duck house, which a friend of mine copied. He goes, "No, it works great," which from him is really good praise because he's a really good dude, can build whatever he wants. So we spent all this time. We got the outside, and then she starts doing paths.
Well, no. See, again, he goes ahead of himself. Back up. This is when he ends up getting a job because we went no jobs, nothing. So that shifted from we'll all work all the time to he goes to work, and I'm like, well, I have to keep going. So that's when I ended up pressure washing the entire basement day after day after day after day, and building garden beds and all those things that I was capable of doing on my own at that point.
We were super broke.
Oh, we were super broke. So we did that for a while.
He was the king of the like sales at this grocery store this day and this one this day, and I got the digital coupon for this.
Like its own job all by
itself. And then we'd find the occasional like free pig on Craigslist that people
well, that's the other thing is we learned
giving away. So Tennessee was where we learned to process animals. We did one pig that we bought semi-butchered in Colorado. That we bought. We had it processed at the local butchery place,
Slaughterhouse.
slaughterhouse.
It was just halves. So I butchered out the halves.
Wait.
No.
We bought a pig from this lady that she'd raised a couple of them and she was selling one. So we get it. She drives to the slaughterhouse. I go to the slaughterhouse in my little Mazda 3, right? And I pull up and I'm like, "Hi, I had a pig," and they're like, "Okay, city boy." And the guy just grabs this giant full side of, and it wasn't a small pig. Grabs it, throws it over his shoulder, and starts walking. And I went, "Oh, I am not prepared for this." So I run out, get in front of him, like he doesn't mess around. Open my trunk, and he's just gonna chuck it in the back of the car. And I'm just sort of like, ah! I grab plastic and I like throw plastic, and I manage to just cover, like, I fold the seats down and cover stuff, and he just like boom, and then he goes back for the other side.
Yeah.
And he's like, "There you go."
So first pig was in a
Well,
what?
hold on. So then I turn the air conditioner up full blast because I've got to keep it cold, right? I don't know. So I run the air conditioner until I can't feel my fingers. Drive it to the house. We have a folding table set up outside the bus.
No. You don't drive it to the house. You drive it to the trailer park
Bus house.
in Colorado.
We're living in a semi-sketchy trailer park in Colorado Springs. So I drive there, open the trunk. The folding table is sitting outside the bus in the back of the trailer park where we live. Take the pig, throw the pigs on the table, kiss her and say, "I love you, goodbye, I gotta go to work." It's like first thing in the morning, and then just drive away.
No, I'm used to these things.
She's like, "Ah!"
So that was my first attempt.
There we go.
And it worked pretty well. I did fine. But we actually learned the whole process in Tennessee, like from raising to butchering, all the different animals.
Starting with a chilled, skinned, but no, it wasn't skinned.
Yeah.
It was a chilled, like cleaned, gutted, like half.
Hanging halves, yeah.
Yeah, hanging halves. Not a bad way, like, if you have no experience whatsoever into like primaling thing cuts and stuff.
Yeah. But we really dove in hard. The free pigs were a big part of that. It was kind of an amazing find. They're just free pigs on Craigslist. I didn't know that was a thing. Free or like $20 or something. Essentially free.
Yeah.
That fed us for a long time.
Yeah.
So yeah, we got all the animals. We started really getting into trying to be a little bit more self-sufficient. I mean, we were far from it. It was only an acre. And we were also not trying to establish like crazy systems, knowing that we were only there we wanted it to be a year. It was 2 years because life happens. So in the midst of trying to get all the garden going and the animals and everything, the basement's done. We get back to the house, kind of flip-flop back and forth between working outside and going back to the house. We had to jack up the floors in the house, which was a huge problem.
And even like the agent is like, "Oh yeah, the floors are nice and the house is great. It's all been remodeled." No, dude, the floors are garbage. The supports are missing. It sagged like 5 inches, and it like there's the whole house is just like trampolining.
Well, we think someone just dug out for the basement and cut all the supports.
And remodeled means they took the cheapest possible white latex paint and bombed it into the kitchen and walked away.
The whole house was just covered in paint in no proper way. Like, it was awful. So we had to jack up the floor because we couldn't do paint. We couldn't do floors. We couldn't do anything upstairs until it was semi-level again.
So, straightening the frame of a house. Never done that before. But you get yourself a big old bottle jack and some posts, and you start jacking a little at a time. Just a little. And you hear things start to creak, and you're like, pause. And I would put some supports in there, and I go over to the sides, and I would move it just an eighth, quarter of an inch. Give it a day or two. The whole house would kind of settle and creak for a minute, and then I give it a little more and a little more. And I was running strings across the house and remeasuring. It took
months.
It took months to very slowly bring it up, but I got the roof line. The roof line was actually bowed too, and the roof line came back. The floors came back flat.
Of course, everything cracked because it had sunken so slowly for so many years. Yeah, and then they had painted over after it had sunk So when we put it back up to level, all the paint's cracking the wall.
Yeah.
Around that time, you had a pause between jobs.
Yeah.
He comes home, that you quit, and you had a weekend. It was a whole.
I had a Disney
it was
job
a whole story.
for a while. I was turning buses into custom, beautiful luxury RVs, solar power packages, like just crazy good. It was a tiny little family-run company. There's tiny little family drama things. Husband and wife. I think they're getting divorced, and they like both of my boss.
Anytime, I mean, if anyone's ever worked for a small family company, there's issues.
There's issues. So, and I'm like, I just can't anymore. So I had to quit.
So he came home on I think it was a Friday, Thursday, Friday, and was like, "Let's rent heavy equipment."
I quit my job. Let's tear up the yard and rent heavy equipment. So we go down to the local rental place and talk to the guy, and rent us an excavator, because we have to solve some issues, and one of them is the basement has just floods out, and the back of the house is just muck. It's perma muck, never not mucks, and we're like, well, that's where the water is coming through the foundational wall, so we have to dig French drains, and then at some point I figured out that all the gutters, which came down the house and went into tubing into the ground, had this much drain pipe, and then just stopped in the mud. They didn't go anywhere. So they would just fill up with water when it rained, and then slowly just disseminate all the water that hit the roof just back into the ground.
Which caused just the muck.
For days on end. We're like, okay, so all new gutter drains all around the house in every direction. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that was a huge endeavor.
And then, well, we have the excavator. We're going to, we chipped up the old broken cement sidewalk.
Yeah, it's one of those things, once you rent the equipment, you worked until, I don't know, 11 o'clock the last night. We're just going to do everything.
Yard's lumpy and wrong. Let's scrape and let's flatten and let's make this just nice in the yard.
You did not make the yard flat with the heavy equipment.
Well, I mean,
you dug it up. You destroyed in an aggressive way.
I am the destroyer.
You destroyed. So he destroyed, and we set all of the drain lines, the gutters, everything. And then he started a new job.
Well, we're broke.
It was important. You need a new job. And left me with a giant pile of rock, gravel, one of many that would appear.
Yeah.
So, and the giant pile of mud.
Yeah, I was running the excavator, and then
That's right.
And she had the wheelbarrow, which, if you need a wheelbarrow, the little two-wheeled
gorilla cart.
That's
fantastic.
Great. We still have it. But I would take the whole thing, just a whole bucket of clay, and just as gently as I could, I'm like, sorry. Boom!
Yep.
And it would rattle her.
Then I go take it to the pile, and then do it again.
And again, and again, and again, and again.
So that my project for a long time was, I had to fill that entire job. I mean, how deep were we? 3 feet? It was a lot.
It was
2 or 3 feet?
2 feet on the one side and 4 feet on the other, and then the 4 feet continued across the backyard fully.
Yep. So I had to fill the whole thing in with gravel, wheelbarrow, shovel, gravel, over and over and over and over and over. And in the process of that, started all of the paths, because I want a path right behind the house where that trench was anyway. So I just widened it and made a path and continued the paths for months and months and a year probably of making paths all around the property, which was amazing and wonderful.
They're beautiful. So the property wasn't holding the water. The water was leaving the property now through the drains. And you go out to the hill where I had it pointed, and there's 2 4-inch pipes that came out, one from gutters and one from the French drain. And when a heavy rain, it just, and the two of them were just like shotgun barrels, just water going out of it. That was a lot of water that was just left right there.
Yep.
So then all of a sudden, it's all lovely, it's all dry.
And the basement was dry.
So the basement
was amazing.
After all the cleaning, the craziness, we start chipping away at the paint, the something to this.
Sending the kids down and
and then we're like,
peck out all the mortar.
Mortar's loose. Peck all the mortar out with the hammer and the chisel.
Always an hour.
Peck. And then more and more, and then the floor, chip it up, and finally, the house didn't come down, but it was close. So then we start resealing it, and we you get the hydraulic mortar, and we're doing that, and then we get out the special water retaining. What do they call that stuff? There's special paint for the basement to like actually hold water. So after that, then we did the full basement in that.
So many layers of paint trying to keep all of the water.
And we got down there afterwards, and we're like,
oh, it's not like
huge rain, biblical great.
I remember the first big rain after all this, and I ran down. I'm like, oh, it's all dry.
Totally dry.
It was
not
a huge wind.
A drip.
Huge wind.
So we made a basement that didn't have that damp muskiness that a lot of basements
do. Yeah. So then there's
which is now just a clean slate of a basement of now we can do something cool with it.
So then took a detour in life for a moment, and you went back to Washington because in the process, in the process of all of this, we know we're headed towards Ecuador. We know there are certain things that are going to happen. One of them is that we still had a storage unit in Washington. That
storage, I've chased that storage unit around the country a couple times.
And we're just well, we have to get the stuff. We have to get the stuff, but it costs money to go back. We don't have the money. So my mom, because we had moved to Tennessee, she had visited, she had finally decided she wanted to move from Washington to Tennessee. So we decided to we were just going to use her. Let's be honest.
She offered
that she would pay for a truck that was big enough for everybody's stuff. And then Chris would go and drive the truck, so she didn't have to, which actually probably saved her a lot of time.
She didn't have a lot. It was like
the studio apartment.
The studio apartment. It was a few feet of the truck.
So we got a giant truck because we have so much stuff.
But even to move some stuff like that, it's like this huge expense. She's like, "Well, I'll pay for the truck," and then she's, "You can also move your storage." You know, like, okay. So in the pandemic, when everything was shut down and there was like all the craziness going on. Everything was closed. Like, it was really crazy. And we're like, well, this is a great time for a road trip.
Yep.
Fly back, empty the storage unit, pick up all of her stuff, and then drive old Shaky. Oh, Ryder, please, if you're watching this ever, if anybody works for Ryder, fix your trucks.
You have a video of that, don't you?
Oh, yeah. That's why we called it Old Shaky. I couldn't feel my hands for a week. Anyway, so we drive across the country. Really interesting experience during the pandemic, just to see how people from different places and states were handling it and dealing with it. That was really just kind of an enlightening opportunity. So now we have all of our stuff together, which pretty much all of it just needed sold anyway.
And that was a huge amount of work. We piled it all in the house, and then we're like, well, we can't work on the house because we have too much stuff in the house. So we start going through it, we start throwing things away, trying to sell things. We moved around a lot of those things in the house like 10 times, back and forth.
We need to work on this room. Everything out. Need to work on this room.
So frustrating.
Everything back in.
But at least we had all of our things, and we knew that we could start the process of cleaning it all out, selling it, throwing it away, and getting ourselves to the point where we could get it all to a different country, which was not a small amount of work.
And eventually we're going to do a video on the moving process. This is really important if you want to move to Ecuador. Everything has to be on an itemized, specialized list. Has to be like set in certain ways, called certain things, has to like fit in certain categories, certain quantities. We'll do a video on that one. That was an interesting process.
Yeah.
So we were just trying to pare down to like, we'd look at a thing. Do we really need it? Do we really need it?
Or do we need 10 of them? There was a lot of that too. All right, so back to the house, because now we've sort of had, and this was not everybody. This was, I stayed home because animals. We weren't set up then, and we aren't set up now to just leave animals. So I stayed home with Eli, and we continued working on all the outside stuff, everything we could. And then when he got back and we sort of got things cleaned up, and my mom settled, and I was like, Mom. So then I had built-in babysitter, which was just like the best.
Camp Grandma.
Best thing.
Honestly, she really loved it there too. She's still there.
So I'm very happy that worked out for her as well. It made me very happy to have her close for a while. So we got back to the house, which meant mostly we could really get into doing the big work. Because it was level, So now we're up to where we wanted to start when we bought the dumb thing of
we'll flip a house.
And I'm pretty sure at this point you did not have a job. I think it was before you went to Washington, because you didn't take time off for that. See, we don't know exactly when things happened.
Right, and then and then there was a bit of time, and then I ended up getting a job working for Komatsu. Which?
No, this was like the end. Like you didn't have a job.
Oh, that was after that.
Yeah.
All right, so that ended because that was a contract position for like 6 months. Right.
And then
we did the Washington trip. So okay.
Yep. And then you came back and we're like, well, we don't have money. Still don't have money. But now he was home, so we could start doing a lot more of the bigger projects. Because there was no way for me to do that and keep up with the homesteading and the homeschooling and the life things.
Yep.
It's just too much. I painted the whole house, top to bottom, the whole thing, everywhere.
So there was a painting regimen, and she would start early in the morning. She'd get up really early. She'd get her headphones on. We got her like the little Bluetoothy like headphones. Like, okay. She'd get her podcast on, and she'd start painting a couple hours.
Yeah.
Until like we all got up, and then breakfast and things. And then in the evening, everybody would go to bed, and she'd be like, okay. And she'd put the headphones back on, and she'd start painting for a couple more hours.
Oh, yeah.
Like bookending every day. And this went on for months. Scraping paint, repainting, smooching.
Smooching is not a technical term.
Should send me to the store about, give me another bucket of smooch. Give me another bucket of smooch. Get the big bucket of smooch.
I filled in whole cracks of the house and like
we stabilized the house. We got it all right, but now we just need
so
to
much cosmetic that just needed to be done. We basically redid the entire kitchen without spending any money. We considered, it really needs new cabinets, but that's outrageous. So there was no way we could do that. So I was refinishing all of the really questionable quality cabinets to start with, which was stripping paint.
The kitchen
over and over and over and over
was part of what sold us on the house. It had this cool kitchen. It was like a kitchen-centric house, which they don't really make anymore. It had this cool like roundy counter.
I hated that roundy counter by the end of this. No, it was terrible.
So yeah, the countertops looked cool in pictures. No, it was cheap aluminum edging, and it was a laminate piece on top of rotting plywood, on top of cheaply built things.
It was horrible.
And then that, so I came up with this grand idea to redo the countertops. Are we up to the countertops?
Not really, but you can go there if you want to.
I'm gonna go there. So this is where I realized that this has gone on too long, and I need to cut it into 2 videos. So next week we're going to do the finale. We're going to show you all the amazing pictures, the crazy cool stuff, how we pulled it together, how we made it to Ecuador. Like, subscribe, share. Geez, yeah. Come back for the next one. The next one is really going to be good.